Update 7.11 is out a bit late, but we have 7 new refines to talk about. In part 1, we'll go over Flame Emperor, Altena, Mamori, and Osian. For part 2, we have Mini Marth and remixes for Mythic Plumeria and Legendary Dimitri. We'll talk about all our new refines, plus some general playstyle and build ideas. First up, the Flame Emperor is back, their Heroic Grail Axe armor with the free-to-play stat spread of pretty good HP, okay attack and defense, and then kinda weird speed. Flame Emperor can get decently fast with investment, but their new Flame Battleaxe sadly does not really entertain any speed builds. This new weapon will have 16 might, and if Flame Emperor is above 25% HP, they inflict attack and defense debuffs on the foe and the guard effect. The debuffs are equal to 15 minus the foe's max special cooldown value times 2. If they have a 1 cooldown special, Flame Battleaxe will inflict a minus 13 attack and defense debuff. If they were to have a 4 cooldown special, it inflicts the minimum minus 7 attack and defense. Really simple weapon. As for the refine itself, each turn inflict minus 7 attack debuffs and the sabotage status on foes within 3 rows or 3 columns of the Flame Emperor. If the foe were to initiate combat or has more than 75% HP, Flame Emperor inflicts another minus 5 attack and defense, and they get a free fall up attack. Generally speaking, free fall plus guard plus a ton of attack and debuffs. Most interesting thing is the sabotage and attack debuff support. Sabotage is sort of just a better foe penalty doubler since it will take nearby enemy debuffs into account. If you want to sabotage any religious installations, then Flame Emperor can help with that endeavor. Let's tally up the attack debuffs Flame Emperor can accumulate. Minus 7 attack field debuffs can get doubled via sabotage for minus 14. The refine will add minus 5 attack, and the base weapon inflicts a minimum minus 7 attack. This means you can get at least minus 26 attack on the foe, assuming those field debuffs land. This goes higher with lower cooldown specials on the foe, and you got a good amount of defense debuffs as well. With a follow-up in guard, Flame Emperor can get some kill pressure and has more protection. They most likely will be getting doubled by decent attackers, so guard is nice just in case. Unfortunately, our Fire Lord doesn't have any damage reduction, so we can get some via Gambit 4. If you were to run a 5 cooldown 8 throw miracle, that's 15 true damage per hit and 50% DR as well. If you just want to go for a very simple savior setup, then Flame Battleaxe is fine for the job. You can go pure defense around stacking or throw in some attack as well. Close Defense 4, Unity, or Bond 4 add extra defensive perks, and for Sacred Seals, you could go with Steady Breath for cooldown. Mystic Boost can help with sustained healing. Another way to get DR is defensive specials, and you can run Hardy Fighter with the 2 cooldown options. It's not double Aegis or Pavas, but these are unpierceable damage reduction effects. You're just going to lose a lot of counterattack damage. If you want some back, Armored Beacon is the go-to hybrid, but Flame Emperor cannot charge it in one action with accelerated specials. It's still probably the best for far-save builds though. If you want to do something different, Assault Troop is back on the next banner, 3 movement in a line, and you can even get Special Fighter 4 as well. Special Fighter does waste a guard effect, but the Breadhead cooldown is solid and works in either phase. In the same vein, Vengeful Fighter 4 does work even if follow-up stacking is slightly wonky. It works, it just gets destroyed by defense and no follow-up entirely. Overall, Flame Emperor's new Battleaxe is okay for Heroic Grail Refine. It got a lot of attack and defense debuffs with a surprise sabotage support aspect built in as well. I wouldn't try to run other debuffing skills on Flame Emperor themselves. Instead, I would just get other debuffers on your team and let sabotage help everyone out. If you want to go for a speed build, speed debuffs with sabotage is one way to try and make it work. Next up, we have Altena, who is a demoted Lance Flyer. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe Altena was the last 4 to 5 star demo before that pool got removed. Stat-wise, Altena is similar to Trevant, who got his refine recently. High attack and defense with lower speed and res as a Wyvern Rider. Now, the Earthly Gay Bolg has gotten some buffs. It grants a flat +3 defense, and in combat against non-flyers or versus flyers when Altena is above half HP, she will inflict -5 attack and defense debuffs, neutralize the foe's attack and defense field buffs, and deal true damage per hit equal to 10% defense. Basically, this weapon can now work versus enemy flyers, and along with the low attack and defense effect, Altena will get some true damage. For the refine, if foe initiates or has more than 75% HP, Altena inflicts -5 attack and defense on the foe, gets a free follow-up attack, and neutralizes her own attack and defense stat penalties. Definitely did not just see this refine or anything, but Altena will deal with her own debuffs now. Altogether, -10 attack and defense, follow-up plus some true damage, and equalizing any attack and defense changes for the fight. For builds, it's not very unique, but Gambit is once again an interesting option, while Altena can go with Guard bearing 4. If you're okay not getting a fast special, then Gambit's 10 or 15 extra true damage will stack with the Refine's 10% defense is true damage. Altena can definitely hit 60 plus defense, which is another 6 true damage. It's a nice bonus to have. Now, regarding the speed debuffs, you can once again try a speed build, but early game Bolg gives 0 speed to work with. If you wanted a Gambit for Wyvern tank, Trevant or even Arian have more speed. Sadly, this means skills like Wyvern or Flow Flight also are questionable to run. Altena is sort of pushed into a basic physical tank role, and even then the aforementioned 2 heroic girl Lance Flyers both have IO'd shield while Altena does not. You can run distant counter, but taking free damage from archers kinda makes it less ideal unless you're fine with running the IO'd shield Sacred Seal. Now, for some other defensive skills, Guard would be a good pairing for Altena since she probably gets doubled a lot. Follow-up Denial would be nice, and you can get that via Impact A skills or Attack Smoke 4. For other stat boosters, Attack and Defense Clash is slightly wasted since the Refined ignores debuffs already. It's fine if you already have it. Attack and Defense Unity is not good since your debuffs are neutralized. Now, technically, you can run Speed and Res Unity to cover all 4 of your stats, but that stat combo does not exist for Unity. Speed and Res Bond 4 does work, but do you want your flyer to be tied down next to an ally? Also, do you want to invest in speed or res at this point? Now, as a flyer, Altena has multiple mobility skills for herself or her team. Near Trace Conto's fine, Flow Near Trace is nice, but you could go for Attack and Defense Near Trace with Attack and Defense Reigns for extra consistent debuffs. Now, Rain Snap can provide 3 movement, and Tempest Sacred Seals also exist. Technically, Aerial Maneuvers does work if you want Dive Bomb, but regular Flyer Formation or Arrow Bags can be used. Oath 4 is good, and Attack Oath Echo, the attuned skill, is available if you want to go all out. Overall, Altena's Refine is okay, but it's definitely a Refine for a demo unit. If you want to mess with buffs and debuffs, Altena will neutralize them in your favor. A free follow-up attack is always good, but her extra true damage isn't a crazy amount or anything. If you wanted a similar unit, Trevant with his Refine seems a bit more interesting. He basically has Special Fighter, a follow-up, and IO'd shield. Early game Bolg is okay, just not very flashy at all. Next up, we have another Axe army unit, and that is Mamori. She is a retired 5-star, and while her speed is not super min-maxed, this Refine will give Mamori extra speed to mess around with. The Mirage Axe got some nice buffs. It still grants a flat +3 res, and now activates if any allies within 3 spaces. It grants +4 attack and speed, and +6 defense and res to Mamori, which prevents a follow-up attack, and if the foe initiates, inflict attack and defense debuffs on the foe equal to the number of foes who have yet to finish their actions times 3. This new part is sort of like a better shield session. Instead of counting how many foes have already acted, this effect counts how many foes can still act. If 4 enemies can move, Mamori inflicts a big -12 attack and defense debuffs. If only 1 enemy can move, she still inflicts a minimum -6 attack and defense. These debuffs are enemy phase only, so you already know what C-skill Mamori will be using. As for the Refine, like the Flame Emperor, we actually have another hybrid support effect. Mamori gives +4 defense and res and 7 HP healing after combat to all allies within 2 spaces. For her own combat, if she's above 25% health, she gets +4 to all stats, 30% DR for all hits, and her own 7 HP sustain. Mirage Axe got a nifty Refine. The support aspect is fun, and if you want to run Mamori as a savior, then she can give her team extra help when they're doing the fighting. For her own combat, very basic set of stats, debuffs, Fall Denial, % DR, and healing. Unlike our last 2 mid-20 speed units, Mamori gets +8 speed, which can help in lower speed battles. She gets +10 defense and res with at least -6 attack debuffs, and you're still gonna need to chew through damage reduction and healing. With no follow-up in her weapon, Mamori generally wants to get one via a Fighter B skill. With Vengeful Fighter 3 already, she can upgrade to the tier 4 and get access to a follow-up attack, an extra follow-up denial, and breath type cooldown. Follow-up denial effects do stack, but no follow-up will clear both effects. Still, it's not a wasted add-on. Now, Mamori cannot run slaying bonfires or armored beacon counters, but you can stick with it if you're afraid of enemy guard effects. Otherwise, you can go for big Ignis procs. Near or far save is the obvious choice for enemy phase B skills and refines, plus we can use the A skill to insert guard via a tier 3 dual stance. This is about as simple as it gets for an armor savior setup. Mamori brings her own stats and debuffs, a bit of % DR, and the after combat healing. For other options, Mamori can run the other armor skills like Hardy Fighter, but she doesn't have accelerated specials. Special Fighter 4 can work with the Quick Riposte Seal. Armor Beacon is ideal for its burst plus unpierceable DR, but that's for range attacks only. Now for A skills, Unity is fine to handle debuffs and distant counter, always a fun time. If you want to run weirder builds, then you could do stuff like Assault Troop with the Bolt Fighter Seal. You can do Vengeful and Bolt Fighter for the old mixed phase pressure. For even more non-standard skills, if you want to try, you could go for extra support to Mirage Axe's drive effects. If you go full flat res stacking, Mamori could proc Sabotage and Ploys into a decent amount of units, not everyone of course. Now support armor unit, kind of a weird identity, but hey, you could do it if you want. For at least a different combat role, Mamori could try to speed stack, not exactly fast even with the refine and max investment, but speedy, bulkier units can be troublesome for unprepared foes. The refine leaves that door open if you so dare. In the end though, Mamori's refine is a fairly basic enemy phase savior enabler. Try to pick up guard and a follow-up attack for her build. Last up for part 1 is Osian, who is a retired 5-star axe fighter. He's got a somewhat balanced stat spread, and his refine will play into that jack of all trades idea. The Vogue, or Vouge, whatever it's called, is a 16 light axe with accelerated specials. If Osian has more than 25% HP, he gets plus for all stats and distant counter. Conditional DC, but that condition is basically, is Osian alive? Now for the refine, Osian has Bulwark's super obstruct effect. Melee foes cannot move through adjacent spaces, ranged foes cannot move through spaces within 2 spaces. As for combat, if the foe initiates or has more than 75% HP, Osian gets another plus 4 stats, 30% DR for 1 hit, and his next counterattack will be empowered with the total damage he reduced. Finally, he's going to heal 7 HP after combat. Osian's refine is playing into his base kit's rat type berserker playstyle. If Osian gets hit hard, he hits back harder. With distant counter, he can fight ranged foes, and slaying can also get him a quick special on the retaliation. Now he also gets damage reduction and the reflected counterattack damage for extra payback. Plus 8 to all stats fits his channel's DC stat spread, and then you basically have Bulwark with the obstruct plus healing sustain. Nothing super complex, just some fun abilities for a distant counter weapon. While enemy phasing is ideal, Osian gets all his effects besides DC for initiating. It's not the strongest, but he can work either side of the battle. For playstyles, Osian just has an open field day for build options. If you want to tank and spank really hard, then it's tough to beat distant counter plus special spare 4 with accelerated specials and breath type cooldown. Osian can run the new Pledge C skills, but breath sacred seals work fine. This allows him to charge Bonfire or Iceberg or Luna in one action, and he'll proc it on his counterattack. He will have some damage reduction to survive, and he uses the damage reduced as extra reflected counterattack damage. Special Spire 4 then fully pierces any DR skills the attacker has. This is very much a if you don't kill me, I'm gonna kill you type setup, which is it's a bit risky. Not the most defensive power, especially if the enemy has their DR piercing of their own, or pre-charged specials, or brave attacks. This is where things like Veil's Scowl support can be really strong. If you wanted some extra protection for brave hits, you can go take a deflex seal at the cost of stats. Osian's default mirror stance 3 is useful for the guard effect as well. If this is a bit too one-dimensional for you, Osian can absolutely pivot toward more generalist DC builds. He's not the fastest unit ever, but if you can stack speed, then he can take advantage of Vital Astra and Dodge 4 B skills. With Time's Pulse, you get Vital Astra's dodge effect, and all of these will count toward the empowered counterattack, while also still giving more % DR in general. Add in Finish 4, and now Osian has extra healing to sustain, and you have extra true damage too. To double foes, give Osian no follow-up in some way. That helps his tanking power as well into slower foes. For other generalist mixed phase skills, you can run Menace, Oath 4, Smoke 4s, Unity, and even Bonus Doubler. Nelsie Disrupt is fine as well to counter those annoying fire sweep users. Osian is very open to receiving ally support for his jack of all trades DC playstyle. He has Bulwark to protect allies if you want to get really close to super buff him up. He is basically just that kind of unit if you want to fight anyone at any time. I'm not sure how it would fare, but you could try defensive things like Shield Pulse or Godlike Reflexes. Maybe just regular defensive specials or Miracle could be worth experimenting with. All in all, pretty good refine. I would say Vogue, not being a full distant counter weapon, got a little extra leeway. If anything, Osian definitely did not have to pay the full DC weapon tax. That will be it for part 1 of the update 7.11 refines. Let me know your thoughts on these refines, and if you have any builds of your own you want to share, please share them in the comments. Next, in part 2, we'll talk about Mini Marth, Plumeria, and Legend Dimitri. One atrocity wasn't enough for the guys, so we have a second atrocity to discuss. Thank you for watching, and I will see you guys in the next video.